Welcome to the Jodif Entertainment channel. This is a new, well, it's not new. This channel has existed for a while, but I'm going to start trying to do Yu-Gi-Oh content. And I just thought that the first video I would make is a Handtrap tier list for Yu-Gi-Oh. So before I do this, just to give some background, I have been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for many years. At this point, I think it's been over 10 years. I was obviously a huge fan of the show, and that led to me being interested in the actual physical card game. I am doing a hand trap tier list first, just because it's the first idea that I thought of. I will try to think of other ideas, and hopefully I can get some consistent content here on the channel. So starting with um Fuelos. I think that Fuelos, in my opinion, is main deck because um this card, if it doesn't get negated, it's either going to cause your opponent to pass, or you are going to get at least one, two, maybe three cards from it, or even more. A lot of people I've seen, they make a decision to side this card, and I understand if you draw it, that can be frustrating if you're going first, but um, I think that it's inevitable that you're going to lose die rolls. And if you draw Fulos going second and they don't have Ash or another way to stop it if they main deck Call by the Grave or cross out, then um like I said, it's either going to cause the opponent to pass, or that you are going to get a few draws, which is going to dig you deeper into your deck. So I think it's main deck. I do understand that that is not the shared opinion amongst all players. Um, let's just do all of the three Mulch armies first. So Perulia, I think Perulia is a side deck card. Um, and even then, it's not completely necessary to side it. It's very good against Ryziel. It doesn't really do much to other decks like Malice. Um, and even Ryziel, they might choose to play into it, and you may only get one or two draws. It's not terrible, but I don't even, like I said, I don't know if you even need to side it. There might just be better options. Um, but if you're going to play it, I think you would side deck. I do not think you can main Perulia. I don't think decks have room for it right now. And I don't think you would completely forget about it because it is still decent against Ryzio and some other rogue strategies. And then we have Meows. I think that Meows, it hasn't been out that long, so I haven't really been able to test it much yet. I honestly think that this is situational. Um, it's either situational or it's side deck, and I don't want to put it in side deck because I don't know. I don't know if people are going to main it or not, and if we're just going off, I guess we're going off my opinion. So I think this card has high, I think it has high potential, because Malice is very popular, and this card, if you have this card against Malice, you will draw many cards, unless they decide not to not play. And this card is useful against other things like even Ryziel. they have Node, but that's only one draw. And if they're playing plug-in, but most of them don't play that, and most of them don't use that card on their turn. There may be some other rogue strategies that it's good against, but Malice is so popular right now that I think Malice has high potential because of that. This could change over time as the format goes on, and if Malice becomes less popular, maybe move it down to side deck, or even maybe don't even play it. Okay, so then we'll just go to the next one here. Um, we have Mourner. Mourner. Honestly, I don't think that there's really room for it right now in a lot of main decks. But Mourner is not a bad card. I don't know if you would say forget about it. And I don't think it's a side deck card. If it's, could it be situational? I guess if you really want another monster that can negate special summon monsters' effects, then you can play Mourner. But I don't think that you have a lot of space for it, and I don't think it's necessary. But it is situational if you do want, if for some reason you do want another monster negate along with Valor and Amperm, then you can play Mourner. Ghost Ogre, I think, has high potential. It's not a main deck card. I don't main deck it in everything. Sometimes I put it in the main deck, but not all the time. And the reason I'm putting it in high potential is because you don't have to main deck this card. Um, it is very good against duo drive, but Ryziel, I don't think they're going to be relying as much on the duo drive in this next format as they have been, which basically means that um, Ghost Ogre may not be as impactful. But I still think that they will want to go into duo drive, and Ghost Ogre can stop that. Ghost Ogre can also stop things like when you're playing against Malice. If they try to do the lizard play, you can Ghost Ogre the lizard, and sometimes they don't have enough to get into one of their Malice Link monsters. So high potential. Spooky Dogwood is a side deck card for events if you want to side it and try to win in time. That's it. Chaos Hunter, your opponent can't banish cards. You have to discard a card to summon it. Honestly, I think this is forget about it. I understand why some people might think this is good against Malice, but I think you give up too many resources. I think Malice has weird ways still to play around this. I would imagine there still are certain ways that you can get around this. Maybe there's not, but like I said, you have to give up a resource. The opponent has to special summon something first to even get this on the field. So forget about it. There is a small chance that you could say side deck, but I don't think it's necessary. Cyframe Gamma is limited, and it's not worth playing because of that. This is Epsilon. This negates traps. That is also forget about it. And then the spell negation one. There's not really, unless Mitsurugi gets so popular to where you have to try to negate the ritual spell, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, so I'm going to go ahead and say that you just forget about all the Cyframe monsters. Contact C. What does Contact C even do? Uh, okay, so you give this to Ryziel, they can't XYZ. That's the only thing I can imagine. And you would have to do it after they have special summoned X or Sword or Node or Ice from the hand. This card is okay against them. Um, they you can't summon it, but until they do that, because then they can just link it off, right? Yeah. So I'm going to say it's a side deck card. I think there's better options. I don't think you need to side Contact C against Razio, but if you want to side it, you can. But I do think there's better options. Also, that reminds me of another card. Let me go ahead and just add this on here real quick. Okay, so Flying C basically says that you can special summon it and it can't XYZ summon. But you could still link with this, so it's kind of the same as this card, Contact C. Honestly, it's just that Flying C only stops XYZs. It's a side deck card if you want to do it, but it's not necessary. Retaliating C, if your opponent activates a spell that was special summoned, you can special summon it from the hand, and then all cards are banished. Is that right? While this card stays up, any card sent to the grave is banished. Um, I can't think of any spells that special summon right now. Malice do not have one. Does it say spell or trap? No. Fiendsmith track doesn't special summon. I'm going to say Retaliating C is and forget about it right now. I don't see a use for it. Shifter. Shifter is decent against Rizio. It's pretty good against Rizio. It's really bad against Malice. Um, so basically, if you're playing Malice, you have to decide, do you want to side Shifter? And if you do, you could put it in against Razio and other road decks, but you can't put it in a mirror match. It's not, you cannot main deck it because of Malice. Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird right now is, I honestly think it's not that good. It may be better with the new Mitsurugi cards if that becomes more popular. But right now, um, even though I think the card is not that good right now, I think that Joel always has high potential because it is a high impact card. You make your opponent unable to search for the rest of the turn. And I think that's always good. It's good against even Malice in certain ways because you can't add Malice in Underground if you draw them at some point before this. You can't draw with White Binder. So it's a high impact hand trap. I don't think I don't think that maining it is a great idea. You can, but you're going to end up in situations like against Ryziel where you draw them, but they still have extenders, and then you're looking at one card gone. You're minus one card, and they have Detonator on the field. Is basically what you're looking at. Druis Worm is, I think, main deck right now. However many you play, one, two, or three, that's not what we're discussing. I'm just discussing, should you main deck cards, and you should at least have one in your main deck. Druis Worm is great against Detonator. Even, yeah, Eclipse Twins makes it not as good, but even still, at least you're going to get rid of the first one, and then you got to figure out how to get rid of the second one. It's also good in general against other monsters that are special summoned. So, it's good in that aspect, and it's also good against Fiendsmith, which Fiendsmith we all know is very popular right now. So Druis Worm is going to be able to hit all the Fiendsmith cards, the Engravers, the Lacrima, the Requiem, and get them out of rotation. I think the same for Magnemite. I think this card should be mained along with Jewess Worm. And then Baldrake, I think, is in high potential. You don't have to main deck Baldrake, but you should. I think it's you're going to get a lot of value from main decking at least one copy of him because he's another name, um, and he has the effect where he can send a letter dark monster to banish a monster that's summoned from the extra deck. So um, there's a lot of plays you can do if you have this. If you have Baldrake with another Bestial, if you have Baldrake with Nibiru, there's a lot of synergy there, and along with everything that I've already said about Fiendsmith and light or dark monsters in general, I think Baldrake has high potential in this format. Um, Winter Cherries is interesting. This card is just always a -1 because all it does is it banishes something from the extra deck. I think this card, we're in a format where you would imagine that this would be good, but it's still not great. So Requiem is a card that a lot of people are playing Fiendsmith, and if you see a mirror match, if you're playing a mirror match and the opponent has Fiendsmith, you have Fiendsmith, you could hit their Requiem, you could hit their Sequence, you could hit their Desiree. If you depending on what line they're going for, you could hit Caesar, Necroquip. A lot of decks are playing SP, so there's a lot of options. Um, to be honest, though, even though there's a lot of things right now, there's a lot of options you can hit with it, and it would hurt if you hit Requiem because they don't play more than one of it. It would hurt if you hit Sequence, Desiree, any of them. But it's just that the decks are so um, consistent that even if you take away Requiem from Fiendsmith, they still, if it's Razio Fiendsmith, most likely they're still going to be able to do some type of Razio play and you just minus yourself, pretty much. So, the only thing I will say is that, if you Ghost Reaper um, and you take out Requiem, right? That's kind of like a Bestial, but you're you're basically stopping them from even being able to get to it and get to the monster in the deck. So, but you have to be playing Fiendsmith to do that. That's another issue. And if you're not playing Fiendsmith, you probably don't have Requiem in your extra deck to reveal to be able to get rid of their Requiem. So, with all that said, I think that I, see the problem is that I don't think that signing it is good because it doesn't really do anything. It just gets rid of Requiem. Situational, not really because I don't see why you would want to play this just over a Bestial, honestly. So to be honest, while this card's you look at it at face value, you think like, oh, this card is good or it has potential, but honestly, I think it's just forget about it right now. We would need a lot worse. We would need something a lot worse than what we have now, and like there's so many good targets now, so that's why it's a little concerning if this card will ever actually be playable again. Um, I mean, it's playable, but like I said, you get rid of one card from their extra deck, and you lose one card. You can also hit Detonator in a mirror match, but like, are you really going to side this just to do that? Probably not. Um, you could, and it would surprise. I could see this surprising your opponent. So just just to be nice, I will put it in inside deck. I think it's very unlikely to be siding this, but if you're playing Rizio Fiendsmith and you play a mirror match, um, it could be unexpected if you were to hit Detonator or Requiem or something. It's going to change their combo. It might mess them up in certain ways. And if you have other hand traps, maybe you're able to do something. But then if you have another hand trap, that's 3 cards left, and it's getting rough. But I'll put it in side deck. Lancia is definitely a side deck card. Um, for Malice. I think that's all I need to say about that. It's also good against random rogue decks like Ritual Beast. And then we have Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell is a interesting one. I think that Ghost Bell is situational. Um, you know what? No, Ghost Bell I would say is high potential because there's a lot of stuff it can stop. It can stop the Bestials. It can stop Malice and Underground. It can stop Node's effective special summon if that's like the last piece they have. The Bestials I think are the main thing that Ghost Bell can stop. It can also stop Engraver's effective special summon back himself. So I think it has very high potential. It's hard to fit copies in the main, but it's possible. And a lot of times, I don't think people see this coming. Most of the time, I would imagine you're either going to main this or you're not going to play it. You could side it, but there's other better cards I think that you would rather side than this. So I do think that it has high potential though, because there is quite a few things that it can hit right in the current format. Skullmeister is like a worst ghost spell almost. And he is level 4, but honestly, I don't see anyone playing this, and I would put it in forget about it. Let's go to the end here. Vidos is basically just a field spell hand trap, and I don't think it's worth playing at all. Maradora, what does this even do? Can't be negated if your opponent's special. You can target. The player can activate the effects, but it can't be negated. That's an interesting effect, but overall, I would say no one's going to play that. Rescue Ace Impulse is technically a hand trap, but you have to be playing another Rescue Ace with it, and no one's doing that. No material. Does this do anything relevant? If your opponent's specials, discard targeted card, cannot be tributed or used. That's very niche. Like, yeah, you can target. No, this card is not good. No. Um, okay, Cycle Reader is a side deck card if you choose to side it against Fiendsmith. I don't know if it's necessary to side this card, but because it does banish 2 lights as a quick effect. It's kind of like 2 Bestials, but you don't get the monster. It's um, it's it's something that you could side if you really want more hate against Fiendsmith. Phantasme is a side deck card against Malice, particularly. You yeah, so against Malice, this card is going to allow you to dig into your deck more. Maybe you'll draw Lancia, but maybe you'll draw Nibiru, other hand traps that you can use to stop them from continuing their combos. And then other rogue decks, it's good against those as well if they link summon. DD Crow is just a bestial, but it doesn't summon itself, but it's on any card. DD Crow, I think there's just so many cards like the bestials. Cycle Reader's better against Fiends, but the DD Crow is just not. There's really no place for it right now, so it goes and forget about it. Yeah, you could side it, but why would you do that? Dominus Impulse in the decks that you can play it in. I think, honestly, the decks that can play this, I think that it's very close to being a card that you just have to main deck, but I'm going to say high potential. It has high potential because this card negates a special summon on your opponent's turn, and and destroys it if you have a trap in the grave. So that's a very good effect. I think this is the only hand trap we have that can negate a special summon. Um, it's not, it's not like Ash summoning from the deck or something like that. So I think it definitely has high potential. Dominus Purge is more like situational. This card is like, you can only play it in certain decks, and a lot of the decks that play it aren't even that great right now. The best one would be Voiceless. They're not terrible, but there are better decks. And Purge is basically just another Ash, which is good, but it may just not be enough. So it's situational. You can choose to main it in Voiceless. You can choose to side it, or you can choose to not play it at all. Nibiru right now I think is main deck. I think that you have to play it because a lot of decks are they have stuff that you want to be able to get rid of, like Rizio and Duo Drive. If you're able to nib them, Malice. There's certain points where a nib can hurt them, and they won't end on as strong of a board. So I think that nib is main deck right now. Obviously, Ash's main deck, not only because of the effect, but also because, yeah, mainly I said that wrong. It is because of the effect, but not just because you can negate your opponent's cards that would, summon from the deck, add from the deck, but because you mainly can use it to stop Fuwalos. So if they draw Fuwalos when you're going first and you have Ash, you can stop them from basically winning the duel. And um, I think you have to main Ash. Effect Veiler, let's do Imperm first. This is a main deck card for many reasons. It's a trap. You can't use triple tactic on it. Negates a monster effect. It's a main deck card. The last card, Veiler. So a lot of people choose to main it right now. Um, it's definitely not forget about it. It's definitely not side deck. Um, I'm going to put it in high potential because yeah, it's another negate. So you have this with Imperm or Nib. Um, Valor acts like Imperm pretty much. Valor with Imperm is two monster negates. So Valor can have high potential. It can do a lot in a game. I almost want to put it in situational because sometimes you just don't have room, or you feel like you don't have room to be fitting Valor in your main deck. Um, and then if you don't main it, like, at least in my opinion, if you don't main it, there's no reason to side it. Um, but I think right now there's a lot of cards you can hit with it. So you can hit Malice cards, you can hit Duo Drive, you can hit Ice Rizio. Um, if your opponent tries to do a line where they go for Caesar and to protect from Nib, and you have Nib and Valor, you can use it on that. And if you're playing 3 Valor, 3 Imperm, you're giving yourself basically a higher chance of having the combo of Nib with the monster negate, which is usually pretty good. So yeah, I think high potential is good for Valor right now. Sometimes I do feel like it goes down into situational, like, do you want to play this card? Do you want to have more negates? Is it really necessary? But right now, I think it has a higher potential. And yes, a lot of people do choose to main Valor. So, it's like really on the edge between main deck and high potential. I just don't think you have to play Valor, but it is very good if you do. Okay, so that's it. Let me know in the comments if I missed any hand traps. I tried to add all the ones I could think of, even the ones that I knew were going straight into forget about it, like, Maradora and no material. So, in review, we have 6 hand traps that I believe right now you have to main deck. They should be in the main deck. We have 7 hand traps that I think are high potential. We have 2 situational. We have 9 that I think you can side, and some of these are questionable, like the cherries and the C cards, but I think there's reasons enough to say maybe they could be sided. And then all these cards down here, I think you just forget about them. Like, probably, in my opinion, the best card on this is either DD Crow or Gamma, because like yeah, if you play Gamma with the one brick and you draw it, yes, it could be good, but you're just never going to see Gamma, hardly ever. Um, and then DD Crow is good, but we have better cards. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Like I said, if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said or any of the spots that I've placed the hand traps at on the tier list, then please let me know in the comments. Or if you want to just let me know anything else, please feel free. Let me know what you think of this first video, and I will see you guys in the next video.